Hey folks, how's it going? August is almost here and with it the next Guild War, meaning it's time to get ready for the EX Plus OTKs. So let's start by looking at which characters are going to be the ones better suited for the job. One little note before starting, I still don't have an SSR Hangman, I still don't have Caim, and I still don't have 5-star Octo. The only summon boosting my damage is going to be a full limit break Uriel. So this is very likely going to be another two-parter, since I'm going to need a couple of weeks to work on both. As for the characters, let's start with Althea and work our way down the list. The old man comes in with an instant CA standby for himself, 2 crits, 2 CA damage and a CA damage cap up node, which are going to make him fairly decent for either a 0 or 1 button setups. Too bad he doesn't have a ring yet. And we move from one old man to the other with Cagliostro bringing a buff to all allies earth attack on Ogi, as well as a hit to defense and earth defense and a very nice boost to attack, crit, keen and withstand crest on her second skill. She might be able to buff up the amount of damage your team does by quite a margin, but she only has 1 crit and a 9% charge attack damage cap up ring. Moving on, we've got Arlumea with a 10% boost to all allies charge bars on charge attack. In her EMPs we find 1 CA damage node, but sadly that's about it for OTK relevant stuff. The 10% boost to charge bars on charge attack though might come quite in handy. Next up is going to be Siegfried, coming in with a bonus damage on charge attack. In his EMPs he's got 2 crit nodes, no charge attack damage cap up, but an 11% on his ring. Usually anything above 10% I'm just going to keep. Moving on, I've got Trio, again 4-star Trio. And sadly she doesn't start with the astral pressure, so no 1 extra million damage in here. In her EMPs we find 2 crit nodes, 2 CA damage node and 1 CA damage cap up node, which are still going to make her useful for an OTK setup. Ring wise I would rather keep the skill damage and healing though. Grandpa Octo is up next with an instant death effect on Ogi, and again a 200% charge bar limit with a boost to charge bar gain. In his EMPs we find 3 crit nodes and 3 CA damage nodes, no CA damage cap up though, which he rolled on his ring. He's always been a staple for OTK setups and I believe he's still going to be very useful even just at 4 stars. Next in the list is going to be Sarah, but she's a defensive character and she needs multiple turns in order to charge up her passive. And so we move on to Vera, another character with an instant CA who also gets her attack boosted when her devoted sword is up. Her EMPs though are a bit lackluster, only bringing a crit node and a stamina one. No CA damage, no CA damage cap up, and her ring also rolled fairly poorly. Next one is Eustace, coming in with 2 crits, 2 CA damage and 1 CA damage cap up node, which are really good EMPs. He does need another ring though. Kathy is an assassin coming in with a boost to CA damage, but no CA damage cap. In her EMPs we find only 1 crit, but no CA damage and no CA damage cap. I'm afraid she's going to need 2 buttons in order to work, and that would be mostly just for autos. And yeah, 2 buttons are definitely too many. Maybe she's going to be better off for the Nightman 90. Next up is going to be Eugen, who's got a boost to earth attack as well as an auto ignition. In his EMPs we find 3 crits, 3 CA damage and 1 CA damage cap up nodes, as well as another 10% CA damage from his ring. I should probably reroll this, but I want to see how it goes first. Next up is Alessena, but the boost to CS specs on Orogi is going to be increased by her passive, which is going to take a few turns to stack up. Only 2 crits and 1 CA damage, no CA damage cap up, means Alessena is probably going to sit this one out. Next up is Aya, which might be interesting due to all his counters. But again, he's on a 2-button setup and it's also going to be depending on if and how many hits the boss is going to deal. And we move on to Mahira, which is going to be useful mostly for her spirit drums. The 25% boost to attack and most importantly 25% boost to CA damage cap up are pretty massive. In her EMPs she only has a single CA damage up, and Jesus, that ring needs fixing. There, much better. Next up is going to be Razia, yet another character with self-ignition. She also comes in with a crit node, a CA damage node and a CA damage cap up node. The ring though might need some rerolling. After Razia I got Delafil, which is just a healing support, and then there's Vazoraga coming in with a 30% boost to all allies charge bars. EMP wise he needs some leveling, but he comes in with 2 crits and a CA damage node. He also still needs a ring, but I'm going to give one to him if I decide to use him. Alexiel has got her Intricacy ring for a 5% boost in damage cap, and her attack and charge attack are going to get boosted by the amount of mirror blades she has, too bad she's going to need to cast her third skill in order to get one. The boost to Earth attack effect though might come in handy should I decide to use Yugu or Cagliostro. Her EMPs are also a bit all over the place, just 3 Earth attack up, 1 maxed out CA damage, and I should probably reroll that ring as well. Next up is going to be Cerise, but he only comes in with the self-strength, which is not going to be effective for the OTK, but at least he's got 2 crits, 1 CA damage node, as well as a 10% CA damage cap up from his ring. It's going to be fairly unlikely that he's going to see some use, but I might as well list him. Page 2 opens up with Kain, with a hit to attack and defense on his first skill, as well as a special buff to all allies on his second. His EMPs though, kind of bad, only a single crit, and he also only rolled an 8% CA damage cap up on his ring. It's going to be hard for him to find a spot in an Axe+OTK setup, but I did use him last time for his defense down. Summer Rosetta is just a buffer, and so we move on to Dante and Freiheit, coming in with a boost to CA damage based on how high their HP is, as well as some bonus damage as an additional effect when Freiheit Fancy is consumed. And they begin the battle with 5 of them, so no clicking required here. Sadly, their EMPs don't seem to be up to par. 3 crits are nice, but they only have 1 CA damage node, no CA damage cap up, and no skill damage cap up either, so those stats are probably going to have to come out of a ring. After Dante comes Medusa, with her attack up on her first skill, as well as a defense down on her second. In her extended mastery she's got 1 CA damage node, 2 crit nodes, and she did roll a 13% CA damage cap up, so I'm still curious to see how high her damage goes. The next character in the list is going to be Baal, coming in with a boost to all allies chamber specs on charge attack. This might be really nice, but I've always had trouble with Baal's own damage. For his EMPs, he does have a CA damage node, and he also managed to roll 12% CA damage cap up. Now, the last character in my box is Narmea, but she needs her third skill in order to activate her assassination. She does get a counter effect on charge attack though, which might be interesting to see. As for EMPs, she comes in with 3 crits, 1 CA damage and 3 skill damage cap up nodes. Her ring also rolled a 10% CA damage cap up, and she gets a 5% damage cap up from the Intricacy one. She's going to need 1 to 2 buttons to work properly, but I'm still curious to see those counters. At first look, this list doesn't bring in much hope for a decent OTK setup, but let's go check the wiki and see what the other Earth characters can do. The collection tracker is a really handy tool for this, and apparently not rolling since March has left me with quite a big hole in my collection. The first character in this list is going to be Herja, coming in with an automatic skill activation, but that's after the 5th turn. Ilsa might come in handy if you want to full auto, since she's only going to cast her 2nd skill, but that's pretty much it. Summer Jessica is just a healer, she doesn't have any CA boosting skills or EMPs. SSR Jin comes in with a boost to CA specs based on his martial spirit level, as well as an ignition on his first skill. Too bad his martial spirit raises either after using his 2nd skill and the boss using a charge attack, or by taking big damage. He only has 2 crits and 3 CA damage nodes in his EMPs, but his passive can actually go up to a massive 150 and 90% boost to his CA specs. Too bad he's poised for long fights. Next in the list is going to be La Diva, coming in with a boost to CA specs against foes with grapple and inflicting grapple with the first skill. Not only that, there's also a fairly sizable 1 million base cap nuke against foes with grapple when being targeted. 2 crits, 1 CA damage and 1 CA damage cap up nodes in the EMPs might actually make La Diva a very nice pick for an OTK setup. Lobelia has got an extra nuke on charge attack and on full auto is only going to use his first skill. And so we come down on Christmas Megissa with an automatic Oh Holy Night reactivation on her charge attack, which is going to inflict a 500k base cap nuke. The boost to CA specs is fairly low and probably won't come into the picture, but she does have 2 crits and a skill cap EMP. And now the real jewel of the Earth OTKs, Pangi, coming in with a boost to CA specs based on her PEN levels and consuming all PENs on charge attack. She starts the battle with 10, and that means that for a 0 button she gets a 150% boost to CA damage and a whooping 50% boost to CA damage cap. If that was not enough, she comes in with not 1 but 2 CA damage cap up nodes, meaning she's going to go up to 70% CA damage cap up bonus. The only bad part about her is that even if we were to get another surprise ticket before the Guild War, she won't be available in it, so either you roll for her, in which case congratulations, or you're going to have to look for a substitute like everyone else. To close down the list, we've got Zeta and Vasraga coming in with a counter on dodge or damage on charge attack. They're mostly an autofocus character though, and they also lack the CA damage cap up on their EMPs, which makes them a bit of a harder sell than say Christmas Narmea. Another character I've almost skipped over is Granblue. I'm not sure when the Pride of 1 level procs, so she might not inflict that bonus earth damage, and the keen buff to all allies is only a 50k supplemental damage, but she does come with an instant CA for another earth ally as well as some really juicy EMPs. One nice thing to see before the Guild War would be a 5-star Yggdrasil, kind of like what they did with Tiamat. Right now she doesn't really come with much, but there's always hopes. So the main winners here are going to be La Diva for 1 button and Pengi with 0. And with the list now complete, let's see what we can do about the actual teams. To begin with, I want to get a general idea of their damage output, so I've put together a somewhat standard Earth grid that I'll be using as a base, with Mechanic MC and Chicken to buff the other characters. Again, this is not really meant to clear, this is only meant to get a general idea of who is a little bit better off in here. And as expected, the names that stand out a bit more are Siegfried, Octo and Dante. Too bad they don't actually quite work on this setup. A little bit of an improvement could come from uncapping my AK-4A, but I would prefer to leave that as a last resort option. As for the grid itself, replacing the Baihu Claw with a Baha weapon actually improved my damage a little bit. I wasn't hitting cap anyway, so I could benefit more from the higher normal modifier the Baha weapon could bring. And the same can also be said about replacing the Xenohop with the Astral Staff. Now to find a working setup. And of course, beginning with the standard Chrysaor. For this I'm using Lyria, Trio and Alexiel. I do need Uriel as a summon, Lyria gets her own charge bar boost, Trio gets the 10% from owning all the Eternals, and that actually allows Alexiel to join into the charge attack. Too bad there's a few too many button presses in here. As far as refreshing goes, this actually takes 19 seconds. Alexiel's damage went up to 5.3, but that's because she also used 1 button. And even though it's 4 buttons plus a summon, at least it's consistent. Trying to get it down to 3 buttons, I've put Dante and Octo in the front line. I still need to call for Uriel, but at least MC and Lyria are the only 2 characters casting skills. As for the weapons, I've kind of had to bust out the Kane Katana as well as the unsigned Kaneshige. It still weirds me out that you can use Kengo's class champion weapon as an offhand for Chrysaor, but I'm really glad you can. And even though this is not the most consistent thing in the world, fully limit breaking the Hangman, as well as getting Octo up to 5-star, might actually fix this. But let's see if it can be fixed with a little bit of a grid change first. For now, just 4 axes, then I'll want to check out the rest of the Beast Spear as well. But this looks like a damage loss for both MC and Lyria, while Dante and Octo's damage was pretty much the same. So on we go to check out the rest of the Beast Spear. Which comes in with a little bit more damage overall and actually another success. I also went on to try a few more different setups, for example Kango and Bonito, but this did not turn out well. Kind of the same deal with the 4 axes plus ROTB spear grid, and not even the Rising Force had much to say about it. Another grid I wanted to try out was a Magna Highlander, but without Caim, this already loses a little bit of power. Case in point. So right now it looks like this is the only setup that can actually guarantee me an OTK. Again, in the next couple of weeks I will be working on both Caim and 5-star Octo, so I will be getting back at this. In the meantime, let me know how your preparations are going, and if you're still farming for Magna 2 weapons, good luck with your drops. For now, that's going to be it from me. See you guys soon. Ciao!